Does the electrical grid problems in Texas provide a potential opportunity for Palantir? Let's discuss. Hey everyone, welcome back. And for anyone new here, my name is Kevin. So we've talked a lot about Palantir this week with their earnings report, their lockup shares expiring, and we even had a live stream yesterday after the market closed just so we could get together and talk a little bit about what happened. When the stock didn't bottom out yesterday, even though it was down, it sort of gave an impetus for today where the stock definitely opened up higher with a lot of people looking as a buying opportunity, and not one of the big hurdles of the lockup surge past us. However, I don't really want to talk about all the specific day-to-day action with the stock because there's always these ups and downs. But what I wanted to do, since I officially called this, or unofficially called this Palantir Week on the channel, I thought I'd make one more video on the company, which I didn't plan, about a potential opportunity for the long term, which is really what I look at with companies. I don't really get too caught up in the day-to-day, although you have to be aware of the news and whatnot. But I really like to look at a company from the long-term perspective. And I have to say that, first of all, the idea for this video was not mine. The idea came from a great question from someone in the community that reached out to me on Instagram. Did you know I was on Instagram? If you didn't, check me out there. Anyways, the question had to do with the issues in Texas and for any potential opportunity for Palantir. Now, I've been so caught up in those short-term things like the earnings and the lockups that I really haven't even thought about the long-term opportunities with Palantir and applied it to the crisis in Texas. And then obviously, how would that affect Palantir stock? So I really did appreciate the question. It was a great question, and I want to thank you know who you are that asked it. I really appreciate it. Now, for anyone that's not really aware of what's going on in Texas, particularly for those of you in the community that are outside of the U.S., there's been a lot of freezing or bad weather that hit Texas. It left over 4 million Texans without power and heat. And the issue is with Texas has a sort of a unique situation with their electric grid in that it's operated exclusively by the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, and it's a little different than in most places because Texas keeps the energy to themselves and there's no sharing across state lines, which is typically what happens. So there's really I think I've heard this, that there's about 3 major electric grids across the country. Texas sort of is the one that has its own. And so it's an interesting setup, but this situation has caused a lot of problems. So again, they can't import more electricity from across the lines. And really what's happened with this freezing is that getting the electricity from the nuclear and the gas and coal facilities actually froze. And when they froze, they had to be taken offline. So what has resulted in is that ERCOT, or again that Electric Reliability Council of Texas, has started to do some rolling blackouts to try to help preserve some of the electricity and try to meet demands and try to spread it out. And it's continued through most of the week where, again, there's so many people without power, pipes are frozen so people don't have water, and just freezing conditions. So it's just really been an issue. And there's also, for people that have water, there's boil water notices that are going out because of the widespread blackouts at water treatment facilities as well. But first of all, I just want to make sure that everyone makes it through the crisis. That's always the most important thing. But beyond that, almost immediately I had 2 immediate thoughts that I had shared with the person that reached out to me. Number one was that Palantir had just recently inked that contract with Pacific Gas and Electric Company, PG&E, last month. And specifically, the purpose of that agreement was to help the company meet energy reliability in California. Now, does that sound like this would be something that could affect Palantir with Texas or any other potential states, really? I would have to say yes. So that was thought number one. And then thought number 2 was Palantir has such a long relationship with governments, and not just the federal government, which we typically think of, which really is the big part of their business, but they also have had some relationships with state and local governments. So right off the bat, I feel like they have credibility with working with governments, and now in an area like energy regulation or energy generation, but with regulation that's part of it, which does have government oversight at different levels depending on the specific state, it just makes sense that this massive failure of the system could provide an opportunity for Palantir to offer a solution. And we know officially that Palantir can offer a solution, as they did it for PG&E. Could they offer to the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, or what they call ERCOT, the agency that oversees the Texas electric grid? Being that it's being faced with a real world and PR disaster, could they turn to Palantir? With this situation getting so much attention in the press, could this even be involved in a planned infrastructure bill where there's talk that this is beyond the stimulus bill, but there's going to be a later infrastructure bill where they look at things like the reliability of the electric grids? Because really, electric grid reliability is more than just a state issue. It's a regional issue and it's a federal issue. And really, in a lot of ways, it's really a national security issue. So you have to look at that, again, with all this attention, could there be money in a potential bill that addresses this? And if there were, could Palantir, who has these relationships with the government, could they benefit? Palantir has always done really well in times of crisis. I mean, basically, the company was built as a response to terrorism in 9/11. They've had a role in the pandemic, internationally, as far as looking at vaccine rollout, tracking, the disease and the virus. Could this, this latest big crisis be another opportunity for Palantir? That's the question. So again, just back to my two thoughts, I think that Palantir is set up really well in this situation. So when I got that great question, I was like, you know what, this is a really good topic to bring up and really to think about. And just sort of thinks about when you want to consider Palantir, and I know a lot of you guys, really follow them, invest in them. Really, what's the opportunities with them? And, and I have to say that the question, again, I just can't thank the person enough for sending it, really is somebody that's typical of this channel, where we don't just talk about like, it's going to the moon, Palantir is going to the moon. It's like really discussing and really trying to figure out where the stock should be and where it can go, and really using some rational thought and some strong reasoning to come up with an answer. So, really enjoyed the question. So not only did I really enjoy the question, it made me think a little bit, and hopefully, gave me a great idea for this video, and hopefully it's just something else for us to consider and talk about. So now this is where you tell me what you think. Do you see this as a way for Texas or other states to respond by looking at their own systems and reaching out to Palantir for a solution? Let me know what you think in the comments. Anyways, I think this was an enjoyable video to finish up Palantir Week, the unofficial Palantir Week on the channel. But next week we'll get back a little bit more to normal. We'll focus on our traditional IPOs, the new IPOs coming out for the week, and we'll look at also looking onto doing a little bit more with some SPAC coverage. I know there's a lot of interest in SPACs, so I'd like to start mixing that in a little bit more. I tried it in the past, it's been hit or miss. I'd like to do a little bit more with that. So that's where we're going to go next week, barring something crazy happening where I just talk about something else, because you guys know I do that. Anyways, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, definitely consider subscribing. We'd love to have you be a part of the community. And also, for everyone, please like the video, as it's your way of letting me know that this is the content you like, and it helps me with YouTube. Especially since most of you know I try to stay away from the sensationalism that tends to drive views, and you really want to talk about more of the information, some facts. And I try not to get too crazy with things that's going to pull you in, but it's really has nothing behind it. So your engagement, whether it's through your comments and your likes, definitely help let YouTube know that the content is good and delivers it to more people. And the more people we get out, the bigger this channel can grow. And again, the more time I can spend with it. So anyways, I hope this gives you some things to think about going into the weekend as you consider Palantir and the Palantir stock. And when you want to put in that ticker PLTR and see what it does on Monday, just try and have that long-term perspective that I know a lot of you have. This video, I think, just asks a good question, and then they can start snowballing into other questions. And any thoughts that you guys have, definitely share in the comments. Anyways, I'm going to hold it here for now, or I'm going to end it here for now. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll be looking forward to talking to you soon. Take care.